What if humans had the chance to go back in time and correct their mistakes? A scientist stumbles upon this groundbreaking discovery and uncovers something even more shocking: the truth about where human consciousness goes after death and what happens to it. Let's dive into this extraordinary story, filled with mystery and thrilling twists from the very beginning. In a world filled with mystery and suspense, a groundbreaking story unfolds. It begins with a scientist named Thomas Harber, who is being interviewed after making a discovery that could change everything humanity knows about life and death. Thomas has recently revealed a shocking truth. When a person dies, their consciousness doesn't simply fade away. Instead, it enters another dimension, a place where time does not exist. The host of the interview warns that Thomas's discovery is dangerous, especially since many people, upon learning about the afterlife, have begun taking their own lives, hoping for a better existence in this unknown dimension. But Thomas remains firm, stating that he is not responsible for these deaths. All he has done is reveal the truth, and he believes people have the right to know it. Thomas explains that he has tracked human consciousness to the subatomic level, and his findings show that after death, consciousness continues in a way that proves the existence of another dimension. The host, however, presses him, pointing out that Thomas has yet to explain exactly where this consciousness goes after death or what this other dimension is like. Thomas admits that his research is ongoing, and he is still working to uncover the mysteries of the dimension. He promises that soon he will reveal more about this fascinating and unsettling discovery. After Thomas Harber's groundbreaking discovery, the world is plunged into chaos. The host continues the interview, expressing his shock and concern over the growing number of people who have taken their own lives in the belief that they can escape to a better place in the other dimension. He points out that this includes not only ordinary people but also famous celebrities and athletes, all of whom are seeking a fresh start after hearing about the afterlife. In the middle of the interview, something disturbing happens. The cameraman, unable to cope with the weight of his own life and the growing despair around him, stands up and walks toward Thomas. He looks at him and says, "Thank you for showing me the way," before pulling out a gun and shooting himself in front of the camera. The scene is horrifying, but it's just the beginning. All over the world, people who are struggling, those facing financial hardships, emotional pain, or existential dread, are ending their own lives, hoping for a new beginning in the mysterious dimension Thomas has revealed. Over the next 2 years, the situation only worsens. The global suicide rate continues to rise, and the world's population dwindles to less than half of what it once was. News reports constantly cover the rising death toll, but Thomas's discovery remains a controversial and dangerous topic. On a boat, Will, the son of Thomas Harber, returns home. He watches the news on the TV as the numbers continue to climb, the deaths never stopping. Frustrated and disgusted by what his father's work has unleashed, Will angrily shuts off the TV. He can't shake the guilt and sorrow that comes with knowing his father's discovery has caused so much pain and loss. As Will stands on the deck of the boat, he notices Isla, a young woman sitting nearby. He's startled by the feeling that he knows her, despite the fact that they've never met before. There's an eerie familiarity between them, a sense of connection that Will can't explain. They talk for a while, and Will confesses to Isla that he feels a strange bond with her, as if they've shared a past, though today is the first time they've crossed paths. Isla, too, is puzzled by this unexplainable connection. As they talk, a twist is hinted at, one that will unravel as the story unfolds. Will and Isla sit and talk for a while, each expressing their differing views on Thomas Harber's discovery. Isla is a strong supporter of the afterlife theory, believing it offers a chance for people to escape their pain and suffering. She argues that now, those who are struggling in life have a way out by transitioning to the other dimension where they can start over. For Isla, this discovery is a gift to humanity, a chance for renewal. But Will is firmly against the idea. He can't accept that people are intentionally ending their lives because of it. To him, it's wrong and dangerous. After their conversation, Isla decides to leave. She catches a lift, leaving Will standing on the boat, feeling conflicted. Soon after, his brother Toby arrives to pick him up. They drive to a large, imposing house, one built by their father, Thomas Harber. This house is not just a home, but a hub for Thomas's ongoing experiments. Will is disturbed to learn that the house is full of people who had once tried to take their own lives, only to be saved. These individuals now work for Thomas, driven by the belief that the discovery of the afterlife is the key to understanding life and death. Inside the house, Will is confronted by several labs, each dedicated to exploring the mysteries of the afterlife. As he walks through the space, he feels a growing sense of anger and frustration. He finally meets his father and lashes out at him, blaming Thomas for the countless deaths happening around the world. Will demands that Thomas go on television and admit that his discovery is false, because the more people believe in it, the more are taking their own lives. But Thomas laughs it off, insisting that his discovery is 100% true. He refuses to lie to to anyone. In fact, he claims that the greatest proof of the afterlife is Will himself. When Will was a child, he had a near-death experience after a serious accident. For a moment, Will's breathing stopped, but when he regained consciousness, he told Thomas that he had been in another world. This moment gave Thomas the idea to explore the afterlife. Will, in turn, feels responsible for everything that's happened. He regrets telling his father about his experience and believes it has led to the chaos now unfolding. Feeling increasingly guilty and anxious, Will leaves the house and heads toward the beach to clear his mind. There, he spots Isla again. This time, she's acting strangely. Isla is stuffing heavy stones into a bag and then tying them to herself. Will quickly realizes she's planning to drown herself, believing that it will bring her to the afterlife. Panicked, he rushes to stop her, but Isla is furious. She doesn't want to be saved. She's made up her mind. Will persists, determined to help her, and eventually convinces her to come with him. Back at his house, Will tells Toby that he wants to keep Isla there. She's in a fragile state, and Will feels responsible for helping her. Toby agrees, though Isla is shocked to learn that Thomas, the scientist behind the discovery, is Will's father. As they settle in, Will realizes that his house is not just a home, it's also a secret research center. There are labs and a canteen set up all over the place, and many of the people who live there are those who once tried to take their own lives but were brought back. They now work alongside Thomas, all consumed by the belief that the afterlife is real, and they are dedicated to unlocking its secrets. As evening falls, Thomas gathers everyone in a large hall to reveal his latest creation, a machine capable of showing images of the afterlife. He explains that the device can capture footage of where a person's consciousness goes after they die and what that other dimension looks like. To make it work, though, they would need someone to die. Thomas suggests they start by experimenting with a body that has already passed away. The group agrees to steal a dead body from the nearby Brahmos facility, where a man named Philip is scheduled for an afterlife experiment the next day. Later at Brahmos, Toby distracts the security guard while Will and Isla sneak into the facility. They manage to steal Philip's body, and with it, they make their way back to Thomas's house. Once inside, Will and Isla have a private moment. Will confesses to her the pain he's been carrying for years. He tells her that after Thomas's discovery, his mother became deeply depressed. Thomas was always consumed by his research and neglected her. The breaking point came when Thomas stayed in his office on their wedding anniversary, leaving his mother feeling abandoned. That night, she took her own life. Will has never forgiven his father for what happened, and the pain still haunts him. The next day, the team prepares for the experiment. They attach Philip's body to the machine, excited to see if it works. Thomas is eagerly waiting for some kind of footage to appear on the screen, but after several tense moments, nothing happens. His frustration grows as the seconds tick by, and he begins to believe that the device is malfunctioning. Upset, Thomas leaves the room, leaving Will alone with the machine. Just as Will begins to relax, the screen suddenly flickers on. A clip begins to play, showing Philip visiting a woman in a hospital. Will is shocked and confused. He knows this isn't part of the experiment. This footage shouldn't exist. In a panic, he quickly transfers the clip to his own device, then deletes it from the machine to prevent his father from finding out. A little while later, Will becomes consumed by the mysterious footage he saw. He decides to investigate the clip himself. After carefully examining it again, he notices something important. The hospital in the footage is just a short distance away. Driven by curiosity, Will quickly heads there, hoping to find answers. Following the route he saw in the video, he walks down the road, but to his surprise, it ends in front of him. The road in the video had continued further. Confused, Will asks an employee at the hospital about this, and the worker explains that several years ago, the road had indeed gone further. However, it was renovated about 10 years ago. This realization hits Will like a ton of bricks. The footage doesn't show a future event, as he initially thought. It's a past memory, likely from Philip's life, that has somehow been captured by Thomas's device. Back at home, Thomas gathers the people who work with him and confronts Lacey, one of the researchers. He accuses her of doubting his discovery and questions her loyalty. In front of everyone, he harshly reminds her that he saved her life and asks if she's forgotten that. Thomas is furious that she's now rejecting his life's work. With cold determination, he decides to expel her from the group, banishing her from the society he has built around his afterlife research. That evening, Will shares everything with Isla. He shows her the same clip and explains his findings. Isla, equally intrigued and disturbed by what they're uncovering, agrees to help Will investigate further. Together, they return to the hospital, where they dig through the records. They eventually track down the address of Philip's father. The pieces start falling into place. The woman in the video, who Will had assumed was someone connected to the afterlife, is revealed to be Philip's mother. The next morning, Will and Illa take a walk along the beach. As they stroll, Illa opens up to Will about a tragic event from her past. She reveals reveals that her son had drowned on this very beach when he was playing near the waves. Illa had fallen asleep there, and by the time she woke up, it was too late. Since then, she has blamed herself for his death. She confesses that she had even thought about ending her own life on the beach, hoping to reunite with her son in the afterlife. After this heart-wrenching revelation, Will and Illa head to Philip's address. When they meet Philip's mother, she tells them something shocking. She explains that on the day Philip's father died in the hospital, Philip was never actually there. This revelation makes Will realize that the clip of Philip they had seen wasn't a memory from the past, but a vision of the afterlife. Philip had visited his father in the afterlife to make things right, because in this strange world, people have the chance to go back in time to correct the mistakes they made in life. Time doesn't work the same way there, and individuals can revisit any moment to change the course of their lives. Will now understands that Thomas's discovery about the afterlife was completely true. Both Will and Illa are stunned by this new information, but their shock doesn't last long. Toby arrives to tell them that Thomas has now connected himself to the machine to test the device. He plans to inject himself with a special medicine that will slow his heart rate to the point where it might stop. As they watch, a clip appears on the screen showing Thomas in the afterlife. He has gone back in time to the day of his anniversary. This time, instead of staying locked in his office, Thomas makes a different choice. He steps out of the office, telling his wife that work can wait. Today is their anniversary, and they should spend it together. When the video ends, everyone rushes to disconnect Thomas from the machine before it's too late. They administer a shock to revive him and manage to lift him up, making sure he's safe. Thomas was filled with a mix of surprise and joy after his discovery. He realized that when a person dies, they enter another dimension at a point in time when they made a significant mistake, one that they had regretted deeply for the rest of their life. In that dimension, they are given the chance to correct that mistake. Excited about this breakthrough, Thomas gathered everyone outside to share his success. But just as he was about to speak, a gunshot rang out. It was Lacey, the same woman Thomas had earlier kicked out. She had shot Illa, claiming that Thomas's discovery meant she was giving Illa a second chance. Chaos erupted as everyone rushed to restrain Lacey, but it was too late for Illa. She slowly died in Will's arms, leaving him heartbroken and devastated. After a brief moment of panic, Thomas realized the unintended consequences of his discovery. He understood that if people knew they could have a second chance in the afterlife, no one would want to live in the present anymore. People would start taking their own lives, knowing they could simply correct their mistakes in the afterlife. This realization struck Thomas hard. He knew it was vital for people to live their lives, and if his invention caused them to give up on the world they currently lived in, it could lead to disaster. So Thomas made a decision. He would destroy the device forever. Determined, he set off toward his lab, but when he arrived, he found the door locked from the inside. Inside, Will had connected himself to the device. Will, desperate to be with Illa again, injected himself with the same medicine Thomas had used, causing his heart to stop. In the afterlife, Will found himself back in time, standing on the boat he had been on at the beginning of the story, a place where everything had started. And now, the biggest twist of the story unfolded. As Will finds himself back on the boat in the afterlife, he is filled with confusion and desperation. He starts asking Illa how this is happening and why he's here again. Illa gently explains that what he's experiencing isn't real, it's a memory. Will is reliving the same memory over and over again in an endless loop. She goes on to explain that they had met for the first time long ago on this very boat, but this time he was unable to save her. When he later learned of her death, the guilt overwhelmed him, and he carried that burden with him throughout his life. That guilt was so strong that when Will died in the real world, he ended up in the afterlife, returning to that same moment on the boat. He kept coming back, again and again, trying to fix the mistake of not saving Illa, unable to break the cycle. Every time he returned, he watched Illa die. He had visited this boat thousands of times, each time hoping to save her, but each time it ended the same way. She died. Illa continues, explaining that every time Will arrives in the afterlife, the loop restarts, and his subconscious remembers their past interactions. He feels a strange familiarity with her because in every loop, he tried to save her, but never succeeded. This explains why, when Will first met Illa, he felt like he knew her, because in his past lives within the loop, he had been with her countless times. However, this time, things are different. In this new loop, Will saved Illa from drowning on the beach, but Lacey ultimately killed her later. Illa now tells Will that because of his success in saving her on the beach, in the next loop, he won't remember her at all. He'll find himself in a new timeline with no memory of her, and the loop will continue to reset. The new timeline begins with Will finding himself on the beach again. This time, he sees a small child heading toward the waves, and instinctively, He runs to save the child from drowning. As he does, Illa appears and tells him that she lost her son in a drowning accident. This means in this new timeline, Illa's son never died, but she still struggles with thoughts of suicide. Will and Illa, now unaware of the loops they've been through, continue their lives. Illa thanks Will for saving her son, and as she leaves, Will feels a pull to her, a sense of recognition that he can't explain. He decides he wants to meet her again. The story concludes with Will determined to reconnect with Illa and build a life with her, free from the endless loops of the past. As the narrative ends, the audience is left to reflect. If given the chance to go back in time and fix a mistake, what would they change in their own lives? This twist, revealing that Will has been stuck in the afterlife since the very beginning, challenges the boundaries of time, memory, and regret, leaving the audience with a thought-provoking question about second chances and the mistakes we carry with us.